hello. Fresh off of getting my ass handed to me by the Elden Ring DLC, I've decided to return to my roots as a mediocre Souls content creator, and get back to the CMBT grind. Before I inevitably attempt an all-artorious run of Dark Souls, purely because it fits nicely after the Managed run, I thought I'd return to content creation, with something a little more interesting over challenging. Let me explain. Dark Souls 1, incredible as it is a clunky piece of shit. I say that with great affection. The following games in the From Software catalogue greatly enhance the Souls-like experience through a multitude of quality of life features. A big one that was immediately fixed in Dark Souls 2, and one that really should have been obvious even during the development of Dark Souls 1, is that once you beat Gwyn, you're done. You pick your ending and get thrown into NG+ immediately. No homeward bones, no regular homeward, no leaving the shrine. You can't return to your regular playthrough even if you hadn't beaten the DLC yet. Because of this, it is literally impossible to experience any aspect whatsoever of a regular new game playthrough using Gwyn's armor and sword. Gwyn's armor, and especially his sword, are notorious for being unfathomably terrible. But I wanted to see if they would hold up to their own reputation in a regular new game playthrough, just for gits and shiggles. Let's get to it. I try and fail to get the Dark Souls 1 character creator to make a human face, and free myself from my cell with Gwyn's signature broken straight-sword. I say hi to Oscar, who by freeing the chosen undead from their cell, subsequently enabling them to finish the prophecy and link the fire, is the direct cause of Dark Souls 2's creation. And after begging Michael himself, get my hands on the most atrocious strip Dark Souls can offer. Holy fuck, this set is ugly. Also, here's the rules for the run. That was one single frame and that's all you get. Fun fact about this weapon. I don't have the stats to wield it, and it currently functions as a weirdly designed inflatable sword. Additional fun fact, this moveset is fucking atrocious, pardon my French. In what world can this heavy attack ever actually be utilized? Much less in NG+, where every enemy is tougher and hits harder. I can't plunge attack since I don't have the stats, but the base damage is more than high enough to slowly bonk the demon to death. Ugly armor in tow, I head to Firelink. Immediately after I arrive, I level my dex enough to actually let me use Gwyn's sword, with it sitting at a respectable 300 damage two-handed. I head down into the valley, collecting some levels along the way, and try to up my endurance enough to actually let me mid-roll. I get perfectly roll caught by the Black Knight, then cut him in half with a single parry. Yeah, this isn't even really a minor challenge run. I say hi to Andre for the first time in a while, and take on the Titanite Demon for my first upgrade material. I try so hard to make use of the heavy attack, but it is just irredeemable. It is satisfying though. I grabbed the Titanite, but severely underestimated how much student debt I had accrued, and so repair my crappy armor instead. I've been dealing with it for probably 5 minutes by now, and I already absolutely despise fat rolling. So my next goal is the Fap Ring, naturally. The church is just the church. I mow everything down in 1 or 2 hits, and smush Lautrec into the floor. Twice. Even with the Fap Ring, I'm only mid-rolling, which is super fucking sick, I love it. I level my endurance to 25, but it isn't enough. I don't really have enough in my cranium to calculate how much more equipment I need, so I move on to the next stage of this super difficult run. I decided to switch things up in my usual route and head to the catacombs early, namely for the Demon Titanite halfway down. After an awkward scuffle where the cameraman was paid off by Miyazaki himself, I get my second Demon Titanite. For gits and shields, I decide to give Pinwheel a taste of my virile greatsword, and he gorges himself. The poor guy even gets pancaked by my heavy attacks. Sorry Pinwheel. Back at Firelink, I'm sitting at 30 endurance, and I'm still mid-rolling. I have to be like a level or 2 off, but I can't be bothered to farm, so after getting some weird looking scorch marks off my crown, I head to Darkroot, and up to the Butterfly dead. I have nothing positive to say about this boss. 10k souls in hand, I'm now at 32 endurance, which still isn't enough. I farmed some goofy goobers for a few extra souls, getting me to 33 endurance, which also isn't enough fucking somehow. I don't know how equip load works. Anyways, I give up and head up to the Berg. Havel perfectly fucking roll catches me, and so I do all of that again, slightly more angry. This time I showcase the absolute ingenuity of Dark Souls 1 AI, as I slowly strafe around him twice in a row and then promptly cut him in half. The Havel Ring blesses me with its domineering masculine presence, enveloping me in the sweet embrace of light rolling. Hardest part of the run over, I head upstairs into Taurus and nearly one-shot him with the plunging attack. I then say hi to Solaire, who strikes a chord in me. The Age of Fire fucking sucks, and as Gwyn reincarnated, I finally have a chance to set things right and allow humans to inherit the world, giving way to a gentler, equal order of life. I continue onwards, and because I have zero common sense, I don't grab the bonfire shortcut and try to run past the dragon after he sits still for some weird reason. I have beaten this game probably 20 times, by the way. I decided instead to go beat up the knights in the church and grab the lower berg key, but somehow lose with literally the final boss's weapon. You know, I spent so much time literally only fighting Manus and approaching quite literally every single situation in this game completely differently, that I don't actually remember how to play the base game well. I can curb stomp Mr. Abyss out of pure muscle memory, but 3 goobers with shields are enough to break me, I guess. Depressing revelation aside, I grab the key and this time actually get the shortcut. Instead of taking on the gargoyles for the first time in a very long time, I have a different, more thematic goal in mind. I head down to the lower berg and after being bullied by 13-year-old AI, head into Capra. Before I head into the depths, I make a surprising move and actually learn from my mistakes and unlock the shortcut. I save Laurentius, and before continuing further, head to Filing to grab the Pyro Glove, and cosplay as a Bloodborne PC remake, which of course immediately baits the bird into grabbing me. I obliterate the remaining Bloodborne fans, almost all of them completely hollowed out and devoid of hope, and drop off a Prism Stone and Dung Pie for 2 more Demon Titanite pieces. I circle strafe the Stray Demon for what feels like 8 hours, since I most definitely won't be back here. I despise this guy and his enormous cheeks. After grabbing the doll, I happily leave the asylum, and with 15 flasks, head down to the Gaping Dragon. After a solid 5 minutes, I force him to gape on my dragon, and grab the Blighttown key. I head down into Syphilis City, and get to know the locals. It's actually cool how lore accurate this is. The Great Club will completely destroy Gwyn in his fight, so I appreciate the story consistency while I get fucking wrecked by these guys. Oh yeah, good time to mention, I have not actually gone through Blighttown the intended way for an extremely long time. I almost always go down through the shortcut, so I have a splendid time getting every single known STD injected directly into my cranium, courtesy of these guys. I also get bullied and die pathetically, since I'm apparently only good at this game if every enemy is Manus. On my next try, I systematically destroy every single shitty enemy in the area on my way down. I make it to the Parasite, and after a short and easy fight, beat it and grab Power Within. I'm not getting it for the extra damage, I just feel like it's strangely appropriate to be on fire for this run. I can't really remember why. I head to Andre, and with the Titanite collected so far, up the Greatsword to +3. It's worth noting, by the way, another reason this sword is so wildly disappointing is because despite it being an NG Plus exclusive weapon, the only thing good about it is its base damage. A weapon that can only be acquired at a point when your character is leveled up sufficiently to make use of scaling, and it doesn't scale well. I know that the point of this sword is that Gwyn's power basically fueled the fire and he gave all that he had, but that shouldn't change the fact that this sword is big and probably requires a decent amount of strength and dexterity to use, just like say the Claymore. Gwyn's weird holy lore power doesn't change the fact that this sword is a sword, and therefore it should have good scaling but just have nothing unique about it, since the power came from Gwyn. Instead, it has shitty scaling for some reason, and also nothing unique about it. As a result, there is not a single build in this game that can ever efficiently utilize it, doubly so since you get this literally after beating the game. Okay. 13-year-old From Software decisions rant over. With my slightly overpowered setup, I head up to the gargoyles. Holy fuck. Never mind, I get perfectly ganked and roll caught by the second gargoyle. I just want to use the heavy attack. On my next try, the gargoyle moves as I attack, and I deal 740 damage with the shitty heavy attack. Oh my god. I try so hard to finish him off, but the shitty R2 whiffs so incredibly easily. I can't be bothered to make this cinematic, even my regular attack deals 500 damage with counter damage. I do my best to finish off the last gargoyle with a heavy, but Gwyn's set also has 0 poise on top of looking like shit, and I get mildly humiliated as he interrupts my R2 and then makes me whiff. I promptly guillotine him while he breathes fire. First bell rung. I head back to Firelink and after a short trek head down to Quelaag. I hit her so hard she explodes. That makes 2 bells rung. I say hi to Eggman and level my vigor a little back at Firelink. With everything else done minus Sif, I head towards Sens, and one of the single most aggravating experiences I've had in my From Software history, including this shit. The only way I can upgrade this weapon is of course with Demon Titanite. And you want to know where an absolute ton of Demon Titanite is? Yep, I have to go into the fucking tar pit. My PTSD from the Manus run, coupled with the shittiest hitboxes known to man, make this an absolute nightmare. I of course could go get the rusted iron ring, but I can't be bothered to spend 3 minutes getting a ring, and would rather spend 30 minutes trying and failing in this crappy pit. Speaking of, my weapon is extremely slow, the demons are weirdly quick, I walk super slow, and my armor is incredibly terrible. I am here for a very, very long time. Eons pass, and I finally take out the last demon. I end up too short of +5, but that's all I can get for now. It's finally time to move on. I think if I ever need to go on the tar pit again, I will personally take a bite out of Miyazaki's gaming chair. I stomp my way through Sen's Fortress, desperately trying to find a use case for the heavy attack. I try to make the golem fall off, but I do so much damage anyways that it doesn't even matter. Onwards to reclaim my city. With the golden sunset, courtesy of my twink sun, shining down upon me, I beat up my royal guards and grab the Titanite up the top and the final Titanite near the elevator. Since my scaling is atrocious, this is pretty much the final damage increase for this sword. I head into the painting room, one-shotting everything in the way, and decide to humor the last guy, thinking I could just block all of it. I don't get too upset. I turn the thingy, run up this thing, and make it inside my castle. Solaire isn't there for some weird reason, I'm not really sure why. I head on over to the giant blacksmith and make my final upgrade. With nothing else to do except to claim the castle that is rightfully mine, I head into ONS, who are in desperate need of some discipline, and gently explain to Ornstein that Gwyn's 4 knights have a very high turnover rate. In response, Smo joins the union and crushes me with a lengthy court process. I retaliate by pointing out that Ornstein is unable to actually abide by his workplace responsibilities, since he is literally attacking his king. And Smo, with no counter argument for Ornstein's goofy goober behaviour, is let go as well. With my workforce gone, I finally reclaim the Lord Vessel, and my cute little kingdom. I then get an email from Artorias saying he's too sick to come into work, which of course is unacceptable, as being eaten by the Abyss isn't actually covered in his contract. I try to be fair but firm in my response, and kill his dog. While I'm here, I do the setup for the DLC and rescue Dusk. Everything done in Darkroot, I decide to just tick the kings off the list first, since the area is the coolest and I fucking despise their fight and just want it to be over with. I head into the ruins, beat up some ghosts for the hell of it, and after getting the key, make my way into the King's Arena. Because I actually used a transient curse for once in my life, I can't actually use Power Within, and so I have to settle with a measly 300 damage, and the fight takes 3 minutes instead of 2. Oh well. Before I leave though, Karth pops out of the Abyss and makes a really good point. I fucking hate humans, but I don't really like being on fire either. Maybe it's time to break this cycle and do the Dark Souls 3 ending early. Anyways, Karth asks me if I'm into Vor, to which I obviously say no, and after placing the Lord Vessel, I can finally move on to the other lords. First on the hit list is Nito. Not because of the colour of his miasma, I just want to make sure the 4 lords are all upstanding Lordran citizens, and he seems a little uppity for his kind. I say hi to Patches, but because I'm an absolute coward and kinda too stupid to remember the tomb layout, I also jump down and grab the Skull Lantern. I get lost for a solid 15 minutes, since I can't actually remember the last time I went through anything but the boss path, and after a quick goofy goober moment and subsequent backtrack, I head into Nito, who, you guessed it, is promptly curb stomped by my 700 damage heavy attacks. This sword does literally nothing right except base damage. Next on the list is the epitome of From's creativity in boss fight design. I cutely tickle Ceaseless's fists with my fist, accidentally making the run invalid, and head into the ruins. I destroy the metaphor of my lost foreskin, and then of course die to the Fire Sage, because it wouldn't be one of my videos if I somehow didn't die to the shittiest boss in the game. Before I even get to him for a second try, I get infinitely grabbed by one of the worms, absolutely sucking me dry for some reason. Why that did a full health bar is some Dark Souls 2 logic, but I beat the Fire Sage next try and gladly move on. I give the Centipede Demon a vasectomy per his request, and move on to the Land of Saturation. Every single time I play this game, I forget to install the shader mod, and every single time I shed a single tear for my burnt retinas. I make my way up to the roots, say hi to my goth wife, and slide into the bed's wasted opportunity of a cool arena. I roll instead of jump because I really enjoyed the view on the way to the bed's arena, and on the next try, give it a final love tap. One lord left. I make my way through the archives, grabbing the pendant, say hi to the contender for one of the most disappointing bosses in the game, and after escaping jail and subsequently avoiding a class action lawsuit for the 30th time, head all the way into the cave and into Seath. I of course managed to get stuck on a tiny crystal pillar and get ganked by the oysters, but then beat him easily on the second try, once the real bosses can't get through the fog. It's alright Seath, they'll get your fight right with the Dark Souls 3 DLC. Okay, that's everything done. It's finally DLC time, by far the best part of the game.
Full Metal Alchemist. Full Metal Alchemist.
The Guardian is up first, and despite suffering from the largest skill issue known to man, and I really do mean the biggest skill issue, he gets cut down. Seriously, why am I only good at this game when everything is Manus? I get some incredible early damage on Calamite, decimating his health bar, and make my way down to the plateau. I mumble some overstated and unfunny bloodborne joke, and reunite with the cringe walker himself. Clearly he didn't have a good reason to call in sick, and despite explaining that Sif was a necessary collateral to ensure his loyalty to the Four Knights, he's still annoyed for some reason, so I'm forced to let him go. This fight, out of everything in Dark Souls 1, holds up by far the best in terms of design and hitbox quality. It's actually crazy how From Software managed to make a fight this timeless in 2011. Not just a fight that is memorable or influential, but one that isn't janky at all, 13 years later. I greet the residents of ULTRAKILL and make good pace down to the Calamite Key, and after a short run through the Abyss, rescuing Sif along the way as incentive for the Four Knights' return to office mandate, I head into the big man himself. It's been a few months since I fought Manus, but he quickly brings me up to speed with his janky hitbox true combos, and of course my favourite attack. I basically just wail on him for the whole fight. I spent so long mastering this dumbass fight that at this point I'm distinctly aware of how much damage I need to be doing per hit to just tank through every one of his hits. After a cathartic 5 minutes, Big M of course hits me with the impossible to dodge with that ninja ring spell combo, but he gets promptly stomped next try via an impromptu circumcision. I won't be fighting this guy for a long time, so I say my farewells, knowing how miserable I'll be in the All Artorias run looming on the horizon. I say hi to the only reliable knight, and give him a 0.2% raise after he no-scopes Calamite. Good employees should be soundly rewarded. With my decade-long raise given, I make my way down to Mr. Tinnitus himself. I of course die to his dumbass wind-ups, but he goes down next try. As much as I hate fighting this boss in janky-ass Dark Souls 1, I feel like if From adopted the moveset and transplanted it into the Ancient Dragons in Elden Ring, but replaced the Dark Fire with Red Lightning, I reckon it would work way better. I hate the Ancient Dragons, and Calamite's moveset does not belong in Dark Souls 1. For more info on the general mindset Calamite puts me into, watch me choke over and over in my bow level 1 run. That leaves nothing but the imposter among us and the twink of Anor Londo. I take out the weirdly attractive illusion of my daughter created by her brother with Gwyn's signature fireball move, and then promptly retire him from Anor Londo duty. Don't worry Gwendolyn, Daddy's home. With nothing left in Lordran to oppose the Lord of Sunlight, I head towards the first flame. Gwyn enters the fog, intent on his goal. Gwyn fails the parry, since he is of course an embarrassment to the Age of Fire, and after Gwyn grabs Gwyn finally gets the parry off. But somehow Gwyn's riposte doesn't work. Gwyn fails the parry again, and after Gwyn closes the distance, Gwyn fast slashes like the cheesing piece of shit he is, but on the next try Gwyn hits his riposte, and Gwyn finally falls with a final heavy attack, leaving Gwyn as the victor. Suddenly it was over, and the shrine was quiet. There was a choice to be made. Linking the flame would do nothing but continue this cycle of madness, but leaving it to burn out would finally bring change into the world, change desperately needed. I, Gwyn, had held on to the Age of Gods for far too long. I head for the shrine's exit, before a thought strikes me. If I don't link the flame, then the sin of Dark Souls 2 will never fall upon the world. I can't let that happen. And so Gwyn, the true scholar of the first sin, links the first flame, ensuring the continuation of the hit franchise Dark Souls. Thank you for watching. This was very obviously an easy run, but I thought it would be mildly interesting to see how Gwyn's set and weapon hold up in New Game, since it's completely impossible normally to experience New Game with them. It's kind of funny to me that since I spent such a massive time fighting only Manus, that I've gone full circle, and now am back to being the physical embodiment of a skill issue. Also, this video is really just a buffer while I attempt to complete an all Artorias run. Subscribe if you want to see the purest essence of suffering. Thanks for watching, I'll see you in around 7 months.